All right, Reggie from the Front Row Report. We're in Indianapolis. I've got.
Vincent Torres. I am the singer of Awake at Last.
Right, man. I saw you guys. This will be my second time seeing you guys in less than a week.
Oh,
Saw you guys
yeah.
at Incarceration. You guys opened up one of the first bands on the first day. I think you guys played second on the main stage,
we
right
were
after
second
Broken
on the
Hands,
main
I
street.
think.
Yep.
Man, talk about the perfect tour for you guys to be on right now.
Yeah.
Got you guys, you got Palisades. Obviously from Ashes to Do on the tour.
It was
I
so
mean,
good.
let's talk about the Incarceration Festival though, because that was
Yeah,
a
sure.
very unique festival.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, what was that like for you guys playing that festival? Did you get a chance to check out any of the facilities, the reformatory, anything like that? How was it for you guys on your end playing that fest?
It was actually like really, really nice. We've been a touring band really seriously now for about 5 years, like really touring out, and we've always roughed it like in the van, and like it's always been hot at the festivals and this and that. But the Incarceration people, like I gotta give them a big thank you because they really hook you up over there.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a nice little air conditioned trailer to sit in. They had like little candies in there, Cliff Bars, like
Nice.
a couple brewskis. I was like,
That's
wow. So it was really, really awesome for us as an up and coming band to experience that sort of like rock and roll treatment that we like dreamt about when we were kids
Right.
for the first time after
Yeah.
8 years of being a band, so
Right.
I would say that was one of my favorite aspects. I love talking to the kinds of people that are up at 3 and 4 in the morning putting those stage together as like the stage hands. Like I always got to give them props. They're the other side of the industry. And then, I got to meet a lot of really cool people, have some really good food. I did check out the prison. I even got a tattoo from an artist in there. So,
Nice. Where were
so
they-
I got the whole experience.
Where were they set up in there? Because I couldn't find them.
If you went to like the center entrance of the prison, they had like signs that would point up the stairs, and all the artists had their little stations set up in there. And I met a really cool one named Alex, and they totally took care of me.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
So you guys, the tour officially started. What was it, last Friday? I think was the kickoff of the tour.
I believe so. Yes.
I mean, like I said, talk about being like the perfect ideal tour for you guys to be on. Musically, there's some similarities there, and everybody's for the most part fairly new as bands, not like 20-year veterans or anything like that.
True.
Couple albums out, but you guys, your debut full length, The Change, it's about a month old now, I think, or so. It's still fresh.
It's almost at the 1 month point.
Yeah.
We released it on June 21st, so we're coming up though. I think today's the 17th. Yeah.
Something like that.
So
I'm
about
not
4
sure.
days it'll be a month old, but
I don't know what day it is.
yeah, they all blur together when you're on the road, man. Trust
Exactly.
me. I'm just like, okay, it's Tuesday. All right, let's go.
Right. Tell me a little bit about what you guys, when you sat down to really put this record together with The Change. There's a couple different sounds on this record. You go in a couple different directions here and there. Lyrically, what did you guys want to touch on as far as subjects and just life with this record?
So the record, I had started putting it together way long before we even got into the production of it. We were still playing Life, Death, Rebirth at the time when we were starting to put together the ideas for The Change. And I've got like these interwoven kind of concepts that kind of weave through all of my records, and there's always like tossbacks and hat tilts back to previous existences. But on the spiritual on the spiritual side of things, the record is about the soul from Life, Death, Rebirth being reincarnated into a new vessel, but wanting to break the reincarnation cycle. So they think that if they can live a perfect life in this world and bring a great artistic revolution to the world, that they'll finally be able to move on. So they imbue this new vessel with all of the cellular knowledge and experiences of their past lives to try to create this hero, if you will. And I removed all the genders and all third person out of the record so that the listener themselves is the reincarnation, because music is about connections and we're all this being. And even though all this knowledge was there, and even though there is a revolution, with songs like Bigger Picture and The Change, and we wanted some flag flying, revolution sounding big rock songs, there was also darker elements because all of that knowledge and all of that experience took the form of mental health. And I think that mental health and the circumstances that we create for ourselves as human beings in this day and age are really important to touch on, because the record, while there are moments that are dark and that talk about those things and reference those things, everything stays positive and everything works through it. And as you get through till the very end, there's a big kind of like reprise where everything finally like comes full circle, and they realize that they have to be put through the cycle again anyway, because they had already doomed themselves by giving the vessel all of that knowledge in the first place, because the vessel was meant to live as an individual life. That's why the sound's a little bit different. It's supposed to be a different character, and you're not supposed to intervene when you're reincarnated. It's supposed to be a separate experience that collects over centuries. So that's like the spiritual weirdness of it. But
Where did that idea like originate for you, and what was it about that was, because that's a very complex.
yeah, I
idea
wish I had easier ways to explain it that was less complex. But honestly, I went through some really, really hard times myself with mental health, and before the band really like took hold, I mean, I was in dark places. You know, my health wasn't where I wanted it to be at, and I just became sort of obsessed with the concept of death and what would it be like, and what is the actual experience. You know, you can see people who have had near-death experiences or this or that, but I noticed in some of the texts that I found, like I read the Tao Te Ching, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and even a little bit of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, just to kind of, there was always the concept of having your soul weighed, and that being what decides where you go, or your experiences. You're only armed with your experiences. So I wanted the record to kind of play out like a life would, in the way a movie kind of would, because it is this being's life. And so I just really got into those concepts when I was in that dark place, and then it ended up coming full circle, because by exploring that and working through my own mental issue, like health, concerns and obstacles, I was able to, I think it really connected to other people who can relate to that message, and who are also struggling with those kinds of elements in their life.
Yeah, I feel like rock and metal fans, just in general, is one of the biggest populations of music fans that struggle with that issue with depression. I know I do myself.
Yeah, we live in dark times.
We do. Especially the last few years, and I'd say maybe 10, 15 years in rock and metal. That's a very important subject for bands to really tackle head on with everybody that we've lost, or even everybody that struggled with it and come out. It's and I feel like that's one thing that brings all of us fans closer together. I mean, when you're meeting fans at these festivals, these shows, before, after, I mean, what are some of the experiences that how is it to connect with those fans that have had a chance to listen to the music, that have connected with it, and even saved their lives or helped them through it, like some of the bands that we grew up listening to did?
True. Rock and roll for me exists in a series of really high highs and really low lows. As much as I love the traveling aspect of it, most places, because of the way corporations and because of the way the businesses are now, have very similar comforts. You can go anywhere and find a gym, or a restaurant that you're familiar with, or any of those things, pretty much anywhere. Like anywhere you go. I've been as far as to California and back, and you'll still be able to find your Walmarts, your Taco Bells, your McDonald's. I mean, it's just one of those things. And that question rings a lot with me, because in those low moments, I mean, I'm talking like Warped Tour in a bus without air conditioning, just drinking cases of water because we just didn't have AC and we just had to get there. Like those low moments always ended up being worth it, when you actually get to like speak to somebody who really connected with the music. And I've had fans come up at the end of a show and buy a t-shirt or want to take a picture, and the minute I like put my arm around them, take the picture, they've just bursted into tears. Like when something really connects, and when they really relate to a song about depression or a song about losing somebody, the way I experienced it, because all of the songs are still reflections of my experience, and that's probably, I always say that the adventure of all this, the real touring, takes place in the people that you meet, the characters that you can come across, make the cities sometimes. Like when I am in a certain place, I'll know certain fans from that area, and I associate that area with those people that I've connected with on that closer level. So it pretty much means everything. It's the most rewarding element of it, because let's face it, rock and roll isn't exactly like lucrative right now. It's not an easy life. It's a tough one, but it's really worth it when you can really connect with people the way bands used to connect, like you
Yeah.
said, you know, like the way, if I could speak to, I see the look in my eyes when I used to speak to bands like, you know, The Used or something, and guys I really grew up listening to. I can see that in some of these younger fans now, and I'm like, oh man, it's so weird how it kind of
Yeah.
like flips on you. You
Yeah,
know?
or when somebody comes up to you and tells you like literally a song with the lyrics that you wrote, help them
So
through.
many, there's a lot of them that get tattoos, and that's amazing. Like they've committed to it for the rest of their lives, you know, and like that kind of stuff makes it so worth it. And
Especially with the album being still as new as it is, with fans taking to it as well as they have and being as familiar with it is. Sometimes it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months, or a year
Yeah.
for an album to really catch on.
it
but
was
Dance
it
are
happened
rapid
quick.
quick.
Yeah, man, it happened quick. I'm really exciting. I mean, I've experienced things just in this tour after only being out for a few days that we used to like talk about. One day we're gonna have like a trailer and it's gonna be so nice,
Right.
and we'll have water and free beer, and
One day
and,
we're gonna open for this band.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're there, and then
Yeah.
and then everything is just, it starts moving fast though, you know. And I never you know, get overconfident or set really high expectations, because we're a grind band. We've been working so hard. We've been DIY for so long that, you know, we don't necessarily believe in those just like moments when everything just clicks into place. It seems like no matter
Right.
what, we're always climbing, always building more, and you know, it's really a blessing to be able to experience those kinds of things with these bigger festivals and stuff.
So, how did the collaboration, the relationship with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills come up? How did that originate, and what was it about the Change, the song, that was perfect for that collaboration?
I know when I had first gotten a chance to connect with Spencer, I believe I had met his girlfriend first. I was in California. She was hanging out with some friends of mine that played in her band, and when I found out that, you know, that she was with him, I told her I was a fan, and I guess I left a pretty good impression on her. We had a good time. It was California. We were all kind of hanging out, and you know, we also have the same, you know, management team that works with us. So when we had that opportunity to work with somebody, and I thought like the song on the record that if we wanted to do a collaboration, I wanted a voice that was going to be theatrical, someone who understands the theatrical element of the
that's
music
him.
the way I do,
Yeah.
and not a lot of people are doing it better than him right
Oh,
now.
God,
So,
yeah.
and you know, he's got that cool kind of mid-timbre voice, and I think it works really well with my little bit more higher tenor voice when I hit those bigger notes and stuff. And when the song came out, you know, we sent it over to him, and I eventually got a chance to hang out with him in California. We discussed it, and I saw him the following year, and we were able to kind of chat a little bit. We opened up for him a couple times, and I was able to make the connection and be like, hey, so about this song, here's what I'm thinking, and I was able to write out an email for him on how I wanted it to go down, and you know, he even did some harmonies in there, and I think it came together really great, especially because, you know, it did pick up on Sirius XM Octane,
Yeah.
and it was like the song itself like changed everything for the band, which
Yeah.
is ironic about how it was called The Change.
Isn't
And,
Octane awesome?
yeah,
I mean,
as far as like outlets that are really like driving the music industry right now for the rock world, I mean, Octane is one of the few that's really looking out for new artists.
Yeah.
And if they hadn't given us a chance, I don't know if we would even have half the opportunities
there's
we
a
have
lot
now.
of bands that have gotten to a bigger stage because of
Mhm,
Octane.
exactly.
You guys, Starset is one of them. I
Exactly.
mean,
It's nice
yeah.
to be a part of that family and to know that all of our hard work got to a point where they enjoyed it and they gave it a shot. You know, like, that's all it really takes is a shot. And then what you do with that opportunity, you just can't throw it away. You know, you have to make sure we got our fans locked and loaded. You know,
Right.
we've been building fans by touring for years up until that opportunity came up. And when it did, we just like threw the flags and everybody spoke up, and they couldn't ignore it, which was
Right.
amazing, because that reminds me of what rock and roll was supposed to be about. I think that when rock and roll went through that 10-year decline, it was because I think a lot of bands started to see themselves as above their fan base, or when things started to change, it was that the glamour and that it's not really there anymore. Now with the social media connecting everybody to each other, it's so much more
Accessible.
symbiotic, and it's so much more personal to have fans that really love what you do, because if you have enough people supporting it, you know, it can't be ignored, and bands can only exist because they have fan bases, not would they exist so you get a fan base, you know. I think it works together, and that's another thing that we really try to push, especially with the live shows and doing what we do, is trying to connect with people and making sure that, you know, they don't feel like we're unapproachable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like stuff like that.
Well, and I feel like rock is one of those genres where the bands are more accessible. You know, you guys are out at the merch booths after you play.
Yes.
You're out of the tour bus.
true,
you,
true,
you know, even meet and greets. You know, it's like.
Well, that's because we
Yeah.
all started, like, you know, everybody's started to do it again.
Yeah.
And we realized that,
Yeah.
you know, with the social media movement, it changed everything. It changed everything that we, like, dreamt about when we were kids. It's just not
Right.
how it is. You know, it's very different.
Now, with the debut full length, I mean, you guys have the, I guess, the benefit that fans have gravitated towards the music before the full length came out. You did that, but a debut it's the most important record in a band's career because that's what fans really remember and
I would
gravitate
say
or
so.
connect with the most. That's the first impression, really, on a major level. Did that add any extra motivation or pressure or anything when you sat down to do this record? Or the fact that fans already were familiar and all that, did that help?
I think that our core fan base that was there in the beginning did help because they were excited to hear new music too. But we also, with the record, we did a lot of experimentation with how we were going to put it out there. And, you know, a lot of what we did involved, like, putting out singles, you know, like, let's test this song, see if it's vibing, you know,
Right.
and then in a couple months, you know, we'll focus it for a little while, maybe put out a video, this or that, and then, you know, try another one. So we were able to kind of warm everybody up with a couple of the singles that we put out, and then we were blessed because some of the singles really picked up some steam, and that was really a big move for us that even we necessarily, I mean,
Right.
you always hope for it, but you never
Yeah.
really expect it when you're like used to just kind of grinding
Right.
through, you know. And so it's been, I agree with you. I mean, most of my favorite bands, their first record is the first one I heard that you grow with a band once you hear their first
or
record.
you want them
know?
to just keep making that style because that's
Some
what you
fans
felt-
do. I
yeah.
really try to like tell fans, especially the ones that get kind of like mean with new bands when bands put stuff out and they don't particularly like it. Like you have
Right.
to understand that we are all humans and we're all evolving. And
Right.
as artists, you know, sometimes we put out different things. You know,
Right.
I'm lucky that what I'm currently putting out is able to connect
Right.
with people, but you know that doesn't necessarily mean that the next record's gonna sound the same.
Exactly.
You know, like I have other stories
or
to tell.
Yeah,
you
or
know?
touch on the same lyrical content.
Exactly. You know, and I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a theme to what I do, and it's always positivity. Positivity will always be the flag I'm trying to carry because I find positivity and strength in connecting with people and inspiring them to do the same. You know, I love hearing the success stories. I love hearing when someone gets out of a toxic relationship because they finally are just fed up with the BS. You know, and you know, a song of mine really like helped them through that time. You know, and. But I'm really glad that the debut is doing so well right now because it does open the door and it allows more people to come in and really see what we're trying to do here.
Right. So after this tour is finished up, the record's just about a month old. So when this tour is over, what's coming up next? Are you guys thinking about what more music might look like in the future, or just focusing on this and the next tours that are coming?
It's pretty early right now, so focusing on selling the record right now and making sure that we, you know, because it's still a new record, just so many people out there. So I know that we are very focused on promoting it, and we're going to be touring basically for the rest of the year on it. There's a tour coming up that isn't announced yet, so I can't talk about it, but it's going to be, there will be another run towards the end, and we're going to try to end things out with a bang, you know, and do something great with it. And we've discussed, you know, potential, like what we think the band's gonna sound like, but we're all still kind of like catching our breath from how fast everything started moving. So we're now locking in and making sure that the band itself, we're all on the same page, that we understand that this is getting much more professional and much bigger now, and you know, locking in on who's doing what and who's going to have what jobs in the band and how we're going to really continue to push this forward, you know, together. That's been a lot of the focus right now. As far as the sophomore record is concerned, I do know that one will be coming. You know, I have ideas. I just haven't gotten a chance to really sit down at the drawing board yet.
Awesome. Well, man, Vince, thank you.
Music videos or anything coming up?
There's some ideas. We're kind of seeing where where the streams take it. Like what
Okay.
song kind of picks up steam on its own. Right now, Octane picked up Unobtainable, which is a great song, and it's something that's I think is very relatable in this day and age right now. Like again, tagging on social media, as good as it is for connecting to your people, it also has negative effects. You know, with romance, people, you know, even though we're connected to everybody, we're also kind of disconnected from everybody,
Right.
and people's value is based on numbers now, and you know the kind of bullying kids are dealing with in this day and age is just like night and day compared to what I just dealt with for just being kind of weird looking. You know what I mean?
So much harsher. I mean,
There, and
it
it's
went from
intense,
your, it went from your mama jokes to just kill yourself. I mean,
That's bad.
Yeah, it went crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do. I know that we're trying to. We have plans. We just have to sit down. Once we catch a breath after this tour, we got a couple months to revamp everything. We want more production. We want to build the show bigger. We want to, you know, we just always plan on moving forward. You know what I mean?
Right. Awesome, man. We'll have a great show tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Second time in a week, in like 5 days, I'll be seeing you guys. Actually, get to see the full set
So now
today.
you can
Thank
sing
God.
along. 'cause you know all the
Yes.
words. There
Yes,
you go.
and it won't be nearly as hot in there. It's just going to be good.
Yeah, it's
so
really
it won't
nice
be a million
inside,
degrees. So
yeah.
I won't want to die while I'm watching the show. So it's going to be great. Man, thanks for taking time.
Yeah, I
and,
appreciate you, man.
Have a great show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We'll see you in there.